today we, the Group 1, are going to tackle about the works of Fernando Amorsolo and Juan. Who is Fernando Amorsolo? Fernando Amorsolo was the son of Pedro Amorsolo and Bonifacia Cueto. His parents gave him life and saw the world on May 30th, 1892 at Paco, Manila. He spent most of his childhood in a small town of Daet, Camarines Norte, where his love for rural life became the foundation of his artistic outlook. He is one of the significant figures in the world of painting in the Philippines. His favorite themes as a painter are the rural sceneries and the Philippine rural landscapes. So these are some of his works. First is Planting Rice with Mayon Volcano on 1949. Amorsolo was committed to two fundamental ideas in his art. First, a classical notion of idealism in which artistic truth was found through harmony, balance, and beauty. And second, a conservative concept of Filipino national character as rooted in rural communities in the cycles of village life. The two come together in pastoral scenes such as Planting Rice with Mayon Volcano. Here, happy Filipino villagers in their bright clothes and straw hats work together amid the green and sunlit landscape of plenty. Behind them, releasing a peaceful plume of steam, rises the beautifully symmetrical cone of Mayon stratovolcano. It is the ash erupted by the volcano over its highly active history that has made the surrounding landscape fertile. And the tranquil cone appears here to be a beneficial spirit of the earth standing guardian over the villagers and their crops. Mayon eruptions can be very destructive, but here the relationship between the volcano and the surrounding landscape is depicted as a positive, fruitful, and harmonious one. Mayon is a celebrated symbol of the Philippines, and its presence in Amorsolo's painting emphasizes his wish to represent the spirit of the nations on canvas. Next is Harvesting Rice. Harvesting Rice showcases Amorsolo's famous mastery of light. Educated in the classical tradition, the use of chiaroscuro was perhaps Amorsolo's greatest contribution to the development of Philippine painting. Philippine sunlight was a constant feature of Amorsolo's work, and he is believed to have painted only one rainy scene in his career. A smiling woman, radiant with the Philippine sun shining upon her back, approaches a man kneeling in a paddy field, her shadow offering him temporary respite from the heart. In the background, absent grays of peacefully and white clouds drift overhead. The impressionistic scene is thrown into sharp relief by the intense sunlight, highlighting the drapery of the woman's skirt and the sinuous musculature of the paddy field worker. Then he also painted the making of the Philippine flag. Soon by Marcela Marina de Agoncillo, Lorenza Agoncillo, and Delfina Herbosa de Natividad in Hong Kong, and first flown in battle on May 28, 1898. It was formally unfurled during the proclamation of Philippine independence and the flag of the First Philippine Republic on June 12, 1898 by President Aguinaldo. El Ciego the Blind Man on 1929. Unlike most of his other works set in the lush countryside, El Ciego is an interior scene of a blind man gently strumming a guitar as a woman leans in towards him with an adoring gaze. Afternoon Meal of the Rice Workers on 1951. Afternoon Meal of Pre-Rice Workers on 1951 in oil canvas won first at the New York World's Fair.
The Palay Maiden in 1920. Palay is Tagalog for grain, which is symbolic of the Philippines' most staple crop. Rice has been a staple food for ages, used for consumption. Maiden bears significance to Amorsolo's preference for beauty. Because throughout his pieces showing women, Amorsolo does not conform to a Western standard of beauty. Rather, he portrayed them to have a rounded face, not the oval type often presented to us in newspapers and magazine illustrations. The eyes should be exceptionally lively, not the dreamy, sleepy type that characterizes the Mongolian. The nose should be of the blunt form, but firm and strongly marked. So, the ideal Filipino beauty should not be necessarily be white complexioned, nor of the dark brown color of the typical Malayan, but of the clear skin or flesh colored type which we often witness when we met a blushing girl. This work of Amorsolo celebrated the Filipina in her own likeness, carrying new harvest to symbolize the hope for a rising nation. Next, we have Princess Orduha in 1952. So, she is a legendary warrior princess of Pangasinan folklore. Princess Orduha was said to be a beautiful 14th century heroine who fought many wars in defense of her people. And she was famous for leading a retinue of women, warriors who were skilled fighters in Amorsolo's 1952 oil on canvas. Princess Orduha is shown in an elegant state of undress, long black hair being washed by a lady in waiting, known for her sensitivity to the effects of the light. Amorsolo shows his skill rendering the female form with softened highlights, modeling Orduha's feminine curves. And next, we have Baguio rice fields. Amorsolo was offered a generous stipend to further his art education in Spain, and it was in Madrid, where he honed his skills and sourced major influences from the works of Diego Velázquez and Joaquin Sorolla. Lot 1223 Baguio rice fields. Amorsolo deftly portrayed the majestic scenery. Amorsolo was more drawn towards images of gentle rolling hills and verdant rice fields of the Philippines. So next, we have landscape in 1951. So, Amorsolo is best known for his illuminated landscapes, which often portray traditional Filipino customs, fiestas, and occupations. His pastoral works presented an imagined sense of nationhood in counterpoint to American colonial rule, and were important to the formation of Filipino national identity. Next, we have Lavandera. Amorsolo portrays the humble young maiden as if he were the eyes of David being captivated by the beautiful Bathsheba bathing. Cosmopolitan as this bathing maiden, washing their laundry by a river scene, but are kept in our vivid consciousness by the canvases of Amorsolo. Amorsolo painted such idyllic scenes of pastoral paradise, which have been constantly reproduced, copied, and even forged through postcards, posters, and other kitsch souvenirs. He derives this context as that being part of the peacetime. It is quite possible that this painting of this bathing laundry maiden was drawn out of his drawings of the female nudes that he had encountered prior to the war in his excursions to the rural areas of Antipolo or Marikina.
Man with Cockrell, painted in 1938, shows a rare deviation in Amorsolo's oeuvre. A unique painting that the subjects are completely cast in shadow. Perhaps the touch of striking breath amidst the painting's vivid colors is meant to focus attention at the cockerel. The farmer, the cockerel is source of simple joy and also source of income outside of farming. The farmer's treasured possession, the cockerel is symbol of hope. that this less idealistic painting stands apart from the typical Amorsolo's paintings in the aspect of subjects, composition, light, and color. The present works presents to be a glimpse into the quieter, more isolated aspects of rural area life, without the beautiful Filipino women and features solely the man with the love rooster. This is about a system prior to colonialism, sabong or cockfighting that was and still an activity ingrained in Filipino culture, enjoyed by both rich and poor. To the common man, however, it is an opportunity for him to dream about winning the fight and one day escaping poverty. Wartime market scene. The subject is set of wartime, yet this work is part of what has been called Fernando Amorsolo's golden period, which is from about 1920 to 1945. It could have been a typical market scene, but the Japanese soldier at the left side creates attention. At the onset of World War II, Amorsolo's typical pastoral scenes were replaced by the depictions of a war-torn nation. Sylvia Amorsolo Lazo in her book Remembering Papa 2003 recalls how during the Japanese occupation of the Philippines during World War II, Amorsolo spent his days at his home near the Japanese garrison, where he sketched the war scenes from the houses, windows, and rooftop. Amorsolo also frequently portrayed the lives and suffering of Filipino women during World War II. Other World War II era paintings by Amorsolo include a portrait in absentia of General Douglas MacArthur, as well as self-portraits and paintings of the Japanese occupation soldier. In the context of Amorsolo obra, his war paintings are truly exceptional because of their strong content and the corresponding visual style that conveyed it. They make us aware of the full artistic range of the artist, going beyond the rural and domestic themes to handle startling subjects. Amorsolo's esteemed technique bring his wartime era paintings to the level of great art. Old Spanish Church. This painting is by Fernando Amorsolo, perhaps the most beloved Filipino painter of the 20th century. The church depicted here is dedicated to Our Lady of Remedies, the patroness of childbirth. A famous Spanish statue of the Virgin Mary was installed in the altar of the church in 1624. The present adobe building, built in 1864, was also badly damaged during the war, and it was restored in the 1950s. Although the building itself is not very old, the religious structure has been continually rebuilt on the site since the original church was founded in the late 1500s. This image was the focus of worship for centuries, especially for women recovering from childbirth or with sick children. Destroyed in World War II, the statue was replaced with another image made in its likeness. Famously, it is from location that the British troops launched their attacks on the Intramuros, the walled interior city of Manila, in 1762, resulting in 2 years of British occupation. Portrait of an old woman. A departure from his typical Filipina maiden, Amorsolo depicts in oil an endearingly honest portrait of an unnamed old woman, and in doing so beautifully capture an entire life story within the confines of his canvas. With an appearance of snow-white hair and with a weathered complexion, tells of a life spent at work, brown skin attesting to hours spent under the sun, and beaded amulet attesting to a naive religiosity that guided the subject through the years. Amorsolo insists the audience to uncover more and gaze upon his subject, to learn and understand from her, and through his use of enigmatic lightning, listen to her untold story. Amorsolo not only created youthful beauty through his uncontested mastery of the oil medium, but his works also created a different form of allure. One of them was more sentimental and heartfelt. Yet in doing so, he was able to draw out the quintessential value of all his subject. And here's the other paintings of Fernando Amorsolo that is not that famous but still typically characterize high quality and commendable work. Along the Mountain Trail. A Basket of Mangoes, all on canvas, 1949. Washing Scene, 1953. Washing the Carabao, 1928. Oil on Board. Water Carrier, Oil on Board, 1937.
Juan Luna was born in a town called Batak, located in the northern Philippines. When he was 4 years old, his family moved to Manila, where he later attended the Ateneo Municipal de Manila and earned his bachelor's degree. After graduation, Luna took coursework at the Academy of Fine Arts in Manila. During his studies at the academy, he was influenced by the artist Lorenzo Guerrero and the Spanish artist Agustin Saiz, who advised him go to Spain and continue his studies. Luna took Saiz's advice and settled in Spain, after which he enrolled at the Escuela de Bellas Artes de San Fernando. There he met the painter Don Alejo Vera and followed Vera to Rome, where he was exposed to art of the Renaissance painters that became so influential on his own art career. In 1881, Luna's paintings were shown for the first time abroad at an annual exhibition in Madrid called Exposición Nacional de Bellas Artes. His La Muerta de Cleopatra took a silver medal and established his artistic career. In 1884, at the same exposition, he displayed Spolarium, which won 3 gold medals and garnered him critical praise. During this time period, Luna also completed the paintings La Battaglia de Lepanto, which was commissioned by the King of Spain. Then he moved to Paris in 1885 and established a studio where he painted El Pactor de Sangre. In 1887, he returned to Madrid and won high acclaim for his paintings La Battaglia de Lepanto and Rendición de Granada. Luna married Maria de la Paz Padro de Tavera late in 1886, and together they traveled to Venice and Rome before settling in Paris. In September of 1892, Luna killed his wife in a jealous fit of rage, but in the end was acquitted by the court on grounds of temporary insanity. Shortly after his acquittal, he went back to Spain and traveled to Japan, returning to his homeland in 1884 at the outset of the Philippine Revolution. Once there, he was soon arrested on suspicion of collaborating with the Filipino rebels and imprisoned. He was acquitted in 1887 and traveled to Spain to act as a representative of the fledgling Philippine Republic. In late 1899, after he had learned of his brother's death, Luna once again returned to the place of his birth. Not long after he reached the Philippines, Juan Luna died of a heart attack. This Polarium is a painting by Filipino painter Juan Luna. Luna, working on canvas, spent 8 months completing the painting, which depicts dying gladiators.
The painting was submitted by Luna to the Exposition Nacional de Bellas Artes in 1884 in Madrid, where it garnered the first gold medal. The picture recreates a despoiling scene in a Roman circus where dead gladiators are stripped of weapons and garments. Together with other work of the Spanish Academy, the Spolarium was on exhibit in Rome in April 1884. The Parisian life, also known as Interior de un Café, literary meaning inside a cafe, is an 1892 oil on canvas impressionist painting by Filipino painter and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. It portrayed a scene inside a cafe in Paris with a woman identified as a prostitute representing a fallen womanhood who was about to rise from a sofa. The Parisian life is one of the masterpieces of Luna, created when he stayed in Paris, France from October 1884 to February 1893. His own personal Parisian life was a total of 8 years. This period in Luna's career in painting is known as the post-academic or the Parisian period, a time when his style moved away from having dark colors, the academic palette, and became increasingly lighter in color and bloom. The La Bulaqueña, literally the women from Bulacan or Bulacan woman, also sometimes referred to as a Una Bulaqueña, is a Spanish title of an 1895 painting by Filipino painter and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. The woman in the portrait could be the one of the woman courted by Luna when he lost his wife. Luna killed his wife out of jealousy. Bulacan is a province in the Philippines, in Luzon Island, and its residents called Bulaqueños, also spelled as Bulaqueños in the Filipino language. It is a serene portrait of a Filipino woman wearing a Maria Clara gown, a traditional Filipino dress that is composed of 4 pieces, namely the camisa, the saya or long skirt, the pañuelo or neck cover, and the tapis, the knee-length overskirt. The woman's clothing in the painting is the reason why the masterpiece alternate referred to as Maria Clara. It is one of the few canvases done by Luna illustrating Filipino culture. Ramon Blanco Arenas Riera y Pulo, the first Marquess of Peña Plata, was a Spanish brigadier and colonial administrator. Born in San Sebastian, he was sent to the Caribbean in 1858 and governed Cuba and Santo Domingo. In 1861, he returned to Spain, but was then sent to the Philippines. Afterward, he returned to Spain and served in Third Carlos War, where he attained the rank of the brigadier. He served as Captain General of Navarre after taking part in the 1876 offensive in the Valley of Bastan. He acquired his marquisate during this time. He was sent to Cuba as Captain General in April 1879 and was involved in the Little War. He returned to Spain in November 1881 and served as Captain General of Catalonia and Extremadura. He became a Spanish Governor General of the Philippines from 1893 to 1896.
Souvenir de 1899 is titled as Bandera Filipina. This was painted by Juan in Ovicio using a watercolor on paper. It was completed by Luna on May 12, 1899 in Limitridge, Bohemia, after his meeting with Rizal's friend, Dr. Blumentritt. This is the first known artistic illustration of the Philippine flag. This is also the last known artwork by Luna before he died. This painting was created as a souvenir for Dr. Rizal's friend to show how Philippines are free now, for Rizal's heroism. Luna wants to portray the time that the flag of the Philippines was officially opened and displayed during the Philippine Independence Day on 1898. The obelisk is one of the paintings that made Luna as officially accepted artist at Salon of Paris because it shows Luna's skills at draftsmanship, his talents to draw and to draw well. The obelisk is a famous 1885 painting by award-winning Filipino painter and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. It is one of Luna's so-called academic salon portraits that followed the standards of proper proportion and perspective, a realistic depiction with an air of dignity and allure. The obelisk is typically of the well-planned characteristic of the artist's portraits, meaning it was painted in a personal studio while expertly studying undesired effects and with finesse. En sueños de amor, literally, daydream of love. This is a dreamy oil-on-wood painting by Filipino painter and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. It depicts Luna's wife Maria de la Paz Pardo de Tavera while sound asleep. The predominant color used by Luna for the Ensueños de Amor is white with dashes of pink, green, and blue hues. Luna used rapid brushstrokes to express the dreamy mood. The idealism of the painting masked a darker fact in real life. Although Luna was fond of his wife, he was unfortunately also prone to fits of violent jealousy. El Pacto de Sangre or the Blood Compact in 1886 portrays the 1565 Sandugo Blood Compact ritual between Dato Sikatuna of Bohol and Miguel Lopez de Legazpi, surrounded by other conquistadors. Dato Sikatuna was described to be being crowded out of the picture by Lopez de Legazpi and his fellow conquistadors. Juan Luna completed the Blood Compact in 1886, a year he moved to Paris to open a studio. In 1904, the painting won the first prize in Paris, France, and at the St. Louis Exposition in the United States. It is one of the three paintings Luna gave the government of Spain. Las Damas Romanas, literally the Roman Dames, also known as the Roman Maidens. The Roman Woman, or the Roman Ladies, is an oil canvas painting by Juan Luna, one of the most important Filipino painters of the Spanish period in the Philippines. It is one of the early works of Luna that resurfaced in the past quarter of a century after being presumed to be either lost or missing. It was painted by Luna when he was studied on the School of Painting in the Real Academia de Bellas Artes de San Fernando in Madrid, Spain, in 1877.
The Battle of Lepanto or the La Batalla de Lepanto is a painting by Filipino painter and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. Along with the Daet's Resurrection Hidalgo, Luna is one of the first Filipinos to excel and earn recognition in the international fields of arts and culture. Painted by Luna in 1887, the masterpiece is about the Battle of Lepanto of October 7, 1571. The painting features Don Juan of Austria, also known as Don John of Austria, in the battle while at the bow of a ship. The Portrait of Rizal. Oil-painting portrait of Mr. Rizal, painted in Paris by Filipino painter and hero Juan Luna, late circa 1890s. Mr. Rizal was a Filipino nationalist and polymath during the tail end of the Spanish colonial period of the Philippines. He is tagged as the national hero of the Philippines. Isopo. The Luna painting entitled Isopo de Apres Velasquez was among those acquired by a Swiss collector from the gallery in Zurich in the 1960s and is a version of Diego Velasquez's Isopo. The attribution came about when the photo was discovered in the archives of New York's Frick Museum, showing the artist at his Paris studio sometime around 1885 to 1890, surrounded by several pieces of artwork. Mi Hermana. Mi Hermana is a portrait of Luna's sister, Luminaria.
España y Filipinas, meaning Spain and the Philippines in translation, is an 1886 oil on wood by Filipino painter, ilustrado, and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. It is an allegorical depiction of two women together, one a representation of Spain and the other of the Philippines. The painting, also known as España guiando a Filipinas, or Spain leading the Philippines, is regarded as one of the enduring pieces of legacy that the Filipinos inherited from Luna. The painting is a centerpiece art at the Luna Hall of the Lopez Memorial Museum. La Muerte de Cleopatra, or the Death of Cleopatra, was awarded silver medal by Exposition Nacional de Bellas Artes, or the National Exposition of Fine Arts in Madrid in 1881. Famous Filipino artist Juan Luna was first noticed in Spain because of his work La Muerte de Cleopatra, or the Death of Cleopatra, a competition entry number 379 in the Exposition of Fine Arts in Madrid that opened on May 18, 1881. The subject appears at the opera, possibly in Madrid. The La Madrileña, or En el Balcón, literally the woman from Madrid at the balcony, sometimes simply referred to as La Madrileña, is a painting by award-winning Filipino painter and revolutionary activist Juan Luna. It depicts a woman holding an umbrella known as the parasol. Puesta del Sol, or sunset, is a scene presumably somewhere in the north coast of France, which Luna often visited. It presages the landscapes that Luna was later to paint in Manila, with its simple composition and brownish and ochre tones. The young Marquiones of Monte Olivar posed for this portrait in 1881. From the early period of Luna, the brush strokes on the face are smooth and have been meticulously applied, but the lace shawl over the dark dress is painted in quick, impressionistic stroke, typical of the forceful style of the later Luna.